Happy Halloween! Okay, yes, I know Halloween already ended, but whatever. Feeling the nice chill in the air and seeing the leaves change color filled me with inspiration. So I did something about it. Actually, quite a few things. But never mind that, let's just get into it. So all I really knew is that I wanted to draw something with lots of trees in it because that's where my inspiration was coming from. So I did multiple sketches in my sketchbook and drew which one I liked most. One thing that all the sketches had in common is that they all had lots of trees and they all had this little ghost cat in them. She's just a little doodle I drew one day and I fell in love with her, so of course I had to add her to my fall drawing. I even came up with a whole backstory for her, but I'll get into that later. I'm going to make this look like one of those fake TV screenshots, so that's why you see the bars at the top and bottom. When first drawing this little ghost cat, all I could hear in my head was that song, You Smell of Dead Flowers, so I definitely wanted to incorporate that in this work. So one of the reasons this video is so late is because it was kinda last minute. I didn't really decide that I wanted to do this video until October was about over. The spirit of Halloween just randomly hit me, and I listened to its call by drawing this. Other reasons this video took me a while was definitely not because I'm too busy dressing up my cats for Halloween and playing Echoes of Wisdom. Echoes of Wisdom? Never heard of it. So because I was more of going to paint this drawing instead of like do line art and stuff, I actually chose all the colors for the surroundings right after I did the sketch because I'm just going to use the colors straight. And also, I spent way too much time on these freaking trees that I end up covering with a bunch of fog. But anyways, I love this time of year. 1, the trees are really pretty. 2, the weather is very nice. And 3, all of the bugs go away. I can finally go back outside again and touch grass. This brings us to our next topic, phobias. I personally have, what's it called when you have the phobia where you're scared of bugs? Entomophobia, the fear of bugs or insects. And I specifically also have arachnophobia really bad. And you know, living in a wooded area isn't good for someone who has both those fears because you cannot escape them. This is one of the reasons why I'm a cat person. You see, if you have a bug or spider in your house, you just pick up one of these things and throw it at them. And you both get something out of it too. You get to be worry-free of a spider crawling in your mouth while you sleep, and the little creature gets a snack. It's a win-win. The only insects I'm fine with is butterflies and moths. I just can't look at them too closely because they have really creepy faces, so I just have to look at the big picture, which is their wings. I probably have that one SpongeBob episode to thank for that. But yeah, one of the worst fears to have when you live in the woods. Actually, no, that's a lie. I guess a bad fear to have is like bears or bunnies or murderers that live in the woods. I don't know. Oh, birds would be one. I know lots of people have a fear of birds. But there really are some like crazy fears out there that some people have. I've heard of a few from Carol Lynn's shorts where she names a bunch of fears that exist. And some are pretty crazy, like fear of trees. If you have fear of trees, I'm sorry, this is the wrong video for you because I am literally drawing like a dozen of them right now. And then there's like fear of long words, which who thought it was a good idea to name the fear of long words this? And then you got the more common ones like fear of doctors, fear of death, fear of snakes, and of course let's not forget the fear of the dark. In the shows, they always talk about how like this fear is so childish, but I don't think it's childish. I think it's completely normal and understandable and acceptable. I mean, you can't help it. Totally not hinting at something. Tell me if you guys have any fears yourselves. I'm very curious. Also, tell me if this relates to any of you. So I have arachnophobia, fear of spiders. So whenever there's a spider in our house, I freak out. And I won't be comforted till someone either kills it or takes it outside. So whenever I see a spider, I'm like freaking out and begging for someone to do something with it. And I'm always told the same thing, which is, it's fine, it's not gonna hurt you. But that is not how phobias work. Yes, I realize that this spider that is smaller than a penny isn't going to bite me and poison me. I realize that. But it's a phobia. Therefore, I'm very scared of them for no reason. Please tell me if you can relate to this. Right here, I'm using a paintbrush tool to paint in the grass, which I am very happy with how it came out. As you can see, I'm making this look very painterly by sticking with the same brush when using it in the sky, which I really like how that came out too, and later using it to texture and shade the tree. Now I guess let's move on to other spooky topics. Horror movies. Well, in my case, just horror media. I can't really say much on horror movies because I've never really watched them or had interest in them. Really, the only horror movies I've watched is Five Nights at Freddy's and Late Night with the Devil. First one is probably seen as cringy, and the second one you've probably never heard of. The reason I like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie is, well, me and my brother are Five Nights at Freddy fans. And Late Night with the Devil is a movie based on a late night talk show, and it is very similar to horror VHS tapes on YouTube. And I am quite fond of horror VHS tapes. I usually have them on in the background while I'm drawing, or I'm watching YouTubers like 8-Bit Ryan react to them. One series that I'm really into right now is Vita Carnis. These videos are just so well made and I love the creature designs. I also just watch a lot of FNAF VHS tapes. I also went through a phase where I really liked the Walton Files. Oh, I was obsessed with them, they were so good. And then I wonder why I have such horrifying nightmares. There's so many talented creators out there. But if you're under like 13, I do not suggest watching these. And I do not want to hear, but I'm 9 years old and I love horror movies and gore. Just no. Who am I kidding? I watched those when I was 13. I am just giving the greatest advice ever. But anyways, this is near the end of this speed paint. I'm very happy with how it came out. It's definitely more on the fall side though, and not so much Halloween. The only Halloween thing about this is of course our little ghost cat. But I wanted to do something a little more Halloween-y, so that is why I made our second piece, which is a bit more on the Halloween-y side. But here I make the surroundings a bit darker and mess with a lot of blur filters and stuff like that. And then I added the text and the piece is done. Sorry. Just obsessed with that video. Next speed paint. Yeah, so you know about that more Halloween-y speed paint I was talking about? Well, funny story, I kinda cancelled it. Now wait, let me explain. You see, the original concept was a pet cemetery, and I started working on it, and then I realized how much detail and effort I was gonna have to put into it. And this video is late enough as it is, so I didn't really have all the time in the world. And because the drawing was in a pet cemetery, there was a lot of tombstones, and I outlined like 5 of them, and I was dying of boredom. I was gonna have to draw so many gray squares. After working on it for like 30 minutes, I couldn't take it anymore. So I stopped working on it and walked away from it for a few days. I still needed a second speed paint for this video though, so I had to brainstorm. I eventually came up with an idea that's inspired by a specific art style. The art style is called Art Nouveau, I think. I hope I'm not saying that wrong. It has an older look to it and it's very detailed. It usually always has arcs and swirls and a bunch of small details. But I really did my own way of the style because I am not going to draw all those details. Like I said, I'm late enough as it is. It was very interesting coming up with the design for this. At first I was kind of nervous because I didn't think I could do like this more detailed work. But I eventually came up with a few ideas that I really liked and I started to have fun with it. Of course the design is very fall inspired, but there's also a lot of elements of the ghost cat's like backstory, I guess, or more hints to lore, which I'm about to tell you the ghost cat's lore. So, in the world that this ghost cat is in, there's folklore about this cat in Winston-Salem. I know, very creative, a ghost cat in Winston-Salem, but whatever. So the story told about this cat is that she's an omen of death. So if you see a little cat that's dressed up as a ghost, it means that there's going to be death around you. Depending on who tells you the story, the death you experience could be anyone, but others say that it only counts for pets. It's also said wherever the ghost cat goes, little white daisies will follow. So it's said if you ever see white daisies around your house, you're supposed to burn them, as a way of telling the ghost cat that it is not welcome. This characteristic is what gave the ghost cat its name, Daisy. So that's really all people know about this cat. They don't know why it's in the form of a cat, or why it's dressed up as a ghost, or why it has daisies following it wherever it goes. But Daisy is just seen as nothing but a bad omen. Though it's not entirely true. In reality, Daisy is kind of an omen of death, but not the way people say she is. Daisy helps the cats that were killed on Halloween move to the afterlife. And it's mostly always black cats she helps. The main reason being is that some horrible people make it a Halloween tradition to go around killing black cats, which is sadly something that happens in real life. She helps these cats because she was also a victim of this horrible tradition. So yes, she's kind of an omen of death, but not in a bad way. When people see her, she's just staying around because she knows that the person's cat is going to come to its demise, and she will be there to help them. So yeah, that's my little cat cryptid lore. You'll see a few elements from the story in the speed paint. I know the story was a bit depressing, so on a lighter note, let's talk about cryptids. But before we get into that, let me talk about the speed paint very quick. Right here I'm making a messy reference for the colors. I used some colors from the previous speed paint, and looked up some Halloween-y color palettes on Pinterest. Okay, cryptids. So I don't really know a lot about cryptids. I only know like the basic ones, like the jackalope and the mothman. And that's about it. But there is one cryptid that I know very well, and that's Hatman. If you're not familiar with a Hatman, he's a cryptid that's said to appear when you take Benadryl. He's described as a tall, shadowy figure of a man who's wearing a hat. The reason I know about this cryptid is because it's a big meme that my brother loves. One day he had to take Benadryl, and of course all he could talk about was the Hatman and how he hopes he sees him. Well, the next morning, he comes and tells me, "Ray, I saw the Hatman!" And I went, "Nice." Of course this Hatman is just a manifestation people make when they take Benadryl. They think about something so much that their brain actually creates it. So although it's pretty explainable, it's still a fun cryptid. Well, my brother didn't think it was fun, but the memes are still funny. Speaking of tall, shadowy figures, do you ever see them in the corner of your eye? Like you're walking past a dark corner and you think you see someone standing in the corner, but then you look and there's no one there? Yeah, that's never happened to me. Okay, well, I've never seen a tall, shadowy figure. I've seen small, shadowy figures, as in a cat. I can just see one of my cats follow me in the corner of my eye, and then I look and there are no cats around me. Or I very clearly see one of my cats jumping on the table, and then I look and see that there's no cat there. I mean, I know that my cats teleport, but I don't think they teleport that good. Also, do you guys have any like unexplainable stories? Because if so, please tell me. I love those stories. I love watching those videos where it's like glitches in the Matrix. I personally don't think I have one of those stories, but I do hear voices while I'm trying to sleep. Hey, can you hear me? Are you asleep yet? You know, the usual. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's still weird that it happens. I always think that's my mom, like, talking to me, but then I sit up and then I realize, no, it's not. I'm in my room alone. There's no one who could be talking to me. Among unexplainable stories, what about unexplainable dreams? Like, you dream something and then it happens in real life? Yeah, that's happened to me before. A while back, I dreamed that I was walking in my backyard and I saw a fallen bird, a baby bird. And when I woke up, I did a bunch of research on what to do if you found a baby bird. So fast forward like a few months later, I see a fallen baby bird in that same exact spot that I dreamed it was going to be in. So because I had done all that research because of the dream, I knew exactly what to do in this situation. So, you know, that's kind of strange. Here's a picture of Pip. So yeah, tell me if you have any strange experiences like that. I would love to hear them. Speaking of spooky stuff, you know something that spooked me? Seeing the track time of how long this speed paint took me to finish. Yeah, it took a very long time. This is one of the reasons this video is so late. Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. But yeah, my heart definitely skipped a beat when I saw that. While working on this drawing, I kept comparing it to the Nevo art references that I had, and I wasn't really happy with how it was coming out. I felt like it was so far from the references that you couldn't even tell that it was inspired by that kind of art. So I kept putting more and more time into it and putting more and more details. And right from the beginning, I was completely aware that I wasn't going to get to the extent of the details in my references. I mean, I just knew that wasn't going to happen, but still I wasn't really happy with how it was coming out. But after putting lots of time into it, I got it to a point where I absolutely loved it, and I am so happy with how the final product came out. I am very, very proud of myself for drawing this. And just a friendly reminder, be proud of your art. Stop comparing it to other people's work. Love your art. It is absolutely beautiful. You are doing an amazing job. Never give up. Never give up on what you love to do. So yeah, Mariah Carey has officially thawed, so I need to make my leave. If you made it this far, thank you. Please consider leaving a like because this video took absolutely forever to make. And consider subscribing. If not for me, do it for him. Alright, hope you have a wonderful day. Later.